Stories are everywhere. We share them with our family, friends, and with strangers. A lot of our conversations are simply mutual storytelling. We tell stories based on what we once heard or what someone else said. We can find stories at home, in the city, or at work. They can be as short as 2 words, or they may not even be expressed with words. We use stories to model what we want to communicate. Organizations can use storytelling to their advantage by engaging and motivating their employees. Stories can build a stronger organizational culture. Leaders start by listening to the stories from their employees and customers. Then they discover a whole new way of thinking about their companies. The simple act of making time for people to share their organizational stories and encourage them to actively listen will increase their level of engagement and excitement. But how do you select the appropriate story? There are 3 steps for selecting the story. First, determine the size of your group. Is the group intimate, small, for a meeting, or for a presentation? Then, determine the intention of your story. Do you want to connect, teach, transfer, or entertain? Finally, what is the reason for you to select the story? Is it to listen, gain insight, get a reaction, or do you want to plant something? Every column has a number indicating the value. Add up the value of your choices from each row and calculate your final score. From your score you can see what kind of story you should select. Do you have 3 to 6 points? Then a personal story would fit the most. Personal stories are often related to experience we had very recently or deep in the past. There is often a great amount of vulnerability involved with sharing personal stories. If your score is 6 to 9, then you want to select other people's personal stories. These stories can come from other people that shared it with us, but they can also come from events that we observed. The key in these stories is that it describes things that have not happened to us. Did you score a 9 to 12? Then you want to go with stories from other domains. These stories can come from any source, for example books, movies, history, or science. For example, if you want to have an intimate size in order to teach and get more insights, the total score would be 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 4. The best category of story to select from would be personal story. This selection grid is meant as a guideline because there are some situations that could fall in more categories. The general rule is that personal stories often provide the greatest value because it really creates a connection between people, but it's not always the most appropriate choice. In conclusion, when you want to select a story, think about the 3 key factors: size, intention, and trigger. Use stories to engage with your employees, colleagues, and customers in order to create a strong organizational culture.